Welcome to this skill session. A skill session is our custom webinar format for our communities at Gerlent, German Talent, and Glolent, Global Talent. More info on gerlent.com and glolent.com. Enjoy.
My name is Linton, and I'm a developer, and I love design. And I always think that as developers, we should learn a bit about design, and as designers, we should learn a little bit about development as well. And that is why I created this website, Learn React.design. I've created a few online courses for designers, basically teach them about React. Just in case I haven't said anything about Framer X is a great tool that it has generates a lot of hype, especially when they just kind of teased us with that movie trailer stuff. I don't know if you guys have watched it, but by that time there was not really much detail revealed, but it just it's gonna be like a React, and it's gonna. I think their tagline is like React meets design or something. Yeah, so at that by that time I was completely hooked. So I'm actually not an employee or anything with Framer. I'm just a super fan, and I actually work with them to build the latest course, which is about Framer X and React. So that's how I basically started with this new tool. Actually, I have no experience working in the older Framer before. Just this new Framer. Anyway, so with that said, so I wanted to kind of give it just a few quick slides about what you can actually do with Framer X, and I kind of summarized it into like 3 things about you as a design tool. You can design on a canvas, and you can basically drag and drop. I'll show you very shortly. And also you will be able to design with code, and that's a very unique aspect of a Framer X, and I'll show you that as well. And also it's I think it's a very effective and outstanding kind of learning platform for anybody who's new to React or JavaScript, because it gives you a lot of hands. You don't need to set up anything. You just download the app, and it'll be there for you, and you can just start playing with the code, and you will get a the taste as well. And obviously, the slides is made with Framer X. So this is the main interface of Framer X, right? Just 1 second, let me grab my. All right. Okay, so I've got like one screen and another screen. I will be able to link between the screens. If I link it over there, I can change different transitions. For now, this is like a push. So it's what do you see? That make it difficult. Refresh it. So I don't know how this animation is going to show up on this screen share, but did you guys can see? Did you guys see the animation or not?
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the frame rate is good.
So that's default. Yeah, awesome. So that's a default transition, and you can change it to other transition. For example, you can do, flip. To refresh again. So that's going to be a flip transition, and there are some presets. So that's one of the aspects that about this. You can very easily link between link screens to make a a working prototype very quickly. And of course, as a design tool, it has a bunch of like kind of common drawing features. Like you can draw different shapes and stuff like. I'm not gonna show those because it works more or less the same as other design tools like Sketch or Figma. I'm gonna show you something like I'm gonna create a new screen here. Actually, make it smaller so that's easier to see. So it's an iPhone 10 frame. Let's say we draw a rectangle here, right? Let's draw another rectangle. Maybe this kind of simulate like it's kind of a text, right? Now I can convert this into a design component. That's the term that they are using. So it's a component-based design approach. So what does that mean is, for example, I can right-click and create a design component. So it becomes a design component, and when I make a few copies, and I was able to just change. You see over here, this is called like a layer panel, and there's something called master. So if I change the master, and you can see, all the instance gets, that's a bad choice of color. Instances gets replaced as well. It gets automatically updated. So let's pick something better. And you can do shadows, right? That looks a lot better, right? And the components in Framer X, as according to my experience, it's the most flexible and powerful to this state compared to Sketch, maybe symbols in Sketch or component in Figma. It's very like components in Framer X is a very very flexible, and you can change stuff inside. For example, let's change this, and everything gets replaced, and maybe this guy. Okay, and you can take that, for example, the readers. So all the instances gets updated automatically. So that's the design component. And the other thing that I wanted to show you, actually, and one more thing is this. You can override the specific property inside the instance. So for example, you don't want this color to be, what is going on? What's this? All right. Yeah, let's continue, sorry. And for example, you can change the color of this particular instance without affecting the other instances. You can do so very easily like that. And you change the color, right? But if I go to the master, I can still tweak other things, things other than the color. And this instance is still will still be updated properly. Now move faster. I think we probably don't have enough time to cover everything. And the other thing is called stack, and this stack is very interesting. So if I can just move stuff into the stack, and then now when I make copies of it, you see it gets automatically laid out, and it's very easy way to build your interface. And also, if you try to reorder things, you see that it actually automatically rearrange without having to kind of do this alignments and stuff manually. So that's a very useful feature as well. So I'm gonna skip a couple things about Stack, and let's do this code. Let's move on to code. there's a, actually, let me get rid of this. Let me just add this guy over here. Within FrameWorks, you can very easily add interactions with code. For example, you can add this code, okay, and I mean, just choose a pre-build. I have a build previously, I think. Yeah, let me choose something else. So for example, this examples scale, and then when we preview it, and when I tap on it, you see this bouncy effect, right? So that's how quickly that you can actually add some interactions to the UI, the prototype that you are building. And now in addition to this design component that we've just built, so basically we build stuff on the canvas, right? You can so this is actually more or less the same as other design tools like Figma or Sketch. You can build stuff. You can have them automatically update when you update the master. So this is kind of like becoming a standard feature now. The other thing that is that really makes FrameWorks unique is the ability to use code as your design elements on the canvas. So what do I mean? What I meant here is that over here you can create a new component, right? And then you can create a component from code instead of from design. So this what I've shown you that was from design. This is actually from code. Now let's I don't know. Yeah, just that is the name of the component. And when do create. So for the developers among you, you can see this is actually TypeScript. This is just a regular React component, right? So that's the code. If we move back to the canvas, now we have a new thing here. We can actually drag it over here. You see, this is a component that's corresponding. That corresponds to this this code, this hello, right? And the interesting thing here is that you can actually change things. For example, I'm not sure if I get the name of your group correct. you can actually configure the properties of this component in design mode. So imagine like if you're a designer and you don't know about the code, but you can still use the code component written by other people, and you can customize it just as easy as any rectangle shapes or whatever as those design components. So you can do that. Now, this, yeah. So I kind of skipped one part. Is that so the code component? Sorry, what was it? There was a question or no?
I
Okay.
don't think so. You can continue.
Okay. Yeah. So I think one of the design principles of a FrameWorks is that it does not really export code from design. I think a lot of like many tools try to do that direction. So you can draw stuff on the canvas and it'll generate some code. But FrameWorks does not take that approach. So their approach is design with code, just like I've shown you that you can create a code component and you can use it use it in the design. And I think the implication is very important. Is that if that is possible, you can actually use your production components that's available in your final product or whatever. You can just grab those components and put it in this design tool, and you can start design on top of it. You can basically that means your design, the buttons or the menus or whatever UI control in your design is going to be exactly the same as in the final product. So you basically use source code as a single source of truth. And for that, I wanted to show you the last example, which is very interesting. There's all right. So this is a component that's a totally, kind of React components, and it's nothing to do with design at this point. So, but it just it renders a pretty a pretty credit card, and you see this flip animation. So those are pretty nice. And I'll show you how to actually package this component, and you can actually start using it on this screen, on this prototype. So to do that, let's just use this hello component, and go over to the project folder, and then just open a terminal inside this folder. Terminal is over here. And from there, you can do normal like yarn install or whatever. I think it's credit cards. Just install that React component, right? So it's over here, credit cards. Now this is installed, and over here, we can basically start copying some code from here. So we can import. Remember, we have our code here. This is super small. Now let me just paste in that import statement, right? And also this guy, cards. Just paste into this render method. If you know React, so just paste this kind of HTML tag inside. And of course, I don't have this. I just put some numbers there for now. Just get rid of everything else, I think. See if it actually works. Going back. I always get this dependency issue. Now, it doesn't look like a credit card yet. That's because I forgot to import the CSS. So right after I import the CSS over here in the code, in this hello component, you'll see it's going to be a credit card, right? You can move it around. Now, one more thing is that we can actually make some of the things configurable from the properties panel in FrameReact. For example, let's do this. Let's make this name configurable. Over here, actually, instead of this text. So there are a few places that we need to modify in order to make that work. So I will just do it quickly. And the key here is that this cards component, it accepts a name prop. And now we can just pass around this this prop to the cards component underneath. And then suddenly we're gonna have I think we're gonna have a name property right here. And of course we can, we can change it as we want. So that makes it makes this component configurable. And so that's this one. And I also want to kind of flip this car. Let's just create a button. Okay, the button is just regular. It's just a rectangle. And oh, that's so big. Okay, so that's this guy. And I want so far, like if I preview it, it doesn't do anything. And I wanted to, whenever I click this button, and it's gonna flip the car. So to flip the car, we're not gonna do any animation here. What we are gonna do is to actually just change there's a prop called focus. We just want to change this prop. And the cards component that we just imported will do the rest of the hard work. So now I add a code for this guy, and let's edit. Yeah, to save time, actually, I'm gonna just copy some code from there. Just 1 second. Yeah, let me just copy not everything. Just this is focus. This is actually the code that I need to make this work. Okay. All right. If we have time, I can explain it a bit more. But basically, actually, I can kind of explain it.
I think let's wrap up with this example and then continue to the question section.
And yeah, then I won't expect it. I won't explain it.
All right.
Because yeah, like 20 minutes or half an hour is a really short time. Anyway, so what I did was basically I created like this get focus and flip card, and there are 2 overrides. That's the concept in FrameX. And over here for the car, I choose this override get focus, and for the button, I choose this override called flip car. And then if I go into here, you can see this is flipping, right? That's the end. You see, you can easily add code to add interaction to the prototypes, and you can use the existing React components in your design. So that's really what I wanted to say. And also, it's very easy to kind of work on the code and see the result instantly. So that's why I think it's a good tool for learning. And
all right,
that's it.
Thank you so much, Linton. That was a great intro to FramerX. And yeah, let's open the questions. So if anyone here has any questions, go ahead and ask. We have around 10 minutes for questions scheduled. And yeah,
So will I hear the questions or?
Yeah, you will hear the questions. Okay. So just.
I don't know if it's too risky or not. If I can order.
Reach out to them.
Okay, anyone, or I can start with the first one. Okay, I will just start. So, how does this compare with tools like Sketch and Figma? What are the main differences, and what do you think is the main advantage and disadvantage of FramerX?
Yeah, the main difference is that you are able to use code, just like I just showed you. Just shown is that you are able to use React, like existing React components in the design, and actually everything in Framework X is a React component, and so that brings development and design a lot closer, and the potential of basically using code as a single source of truth, I think it's a big deal. And
Yeah.
in terms of this advantage at this point, I think it's like it's drawing features like this vector drawing, and the other thing there are things, it's not yet comparable to other more mature tools like Sketch and Schema and Figma. It's just like it's not like you can do a lot of things with those drawing tools. It's just not as convenient or as powerful. I think let's just give it some more time.
Okay. And if you have a Framer X project, how does this export, or how does this, is it possible? I mean, it doesn't generate code, you said, so it doesn't really export, so it's not yet compatible with, like, saying you want to at some point you want to migrate your project from Framer into like a custom solution or something else. Is that a possibility, or is that not thought of?
Yeah, they were talking about, like, although they have like this kind of strong opinion about not exporting code, and it's actually possible to export the code if you want. Like I think I remember one of the employee, actually not employee, the founder of that company said they will make everything you make, like just right here what I just made, exportable to a kind of standalone web app. It may or may not be useful because a lot of times when this kind of a graphical tool export code, it will be overwritten. It will be rewritten by the engineers to kind
Yeah.
of, yeah. So that's why they're taking that stance. But they also offer other options. If you find this useful, you can actually use it in your app. I think it depends. Like especially if you want to use this prototype as a way to kind of validate your idea or something, that can be a good good time saver. You can just
Yeah.
design here and then it'll work, right?
Yeah, I understand. Is there any restriction on the React versions, or on the versions, Node
Yeah,
versions, or how does it work with like backends? So you basically, do you have controllers of some kind, or that you can write, or how does that work?
so essentially this is for building front end, so it's really nothing to do with the back end, and like so you can do like a kind of standard state controls in the code that I have just shown you. It's just a standard, just like a JavaScript, any JavaScript code. You can use Redux if you want. It's like fundamentally, this thing here is a web app, right? It's a web front end.
Okay, so you could integrate with Redux. You could kind of connect it to a REST backend if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you can build a full-fledged application, to-do list or whatever here. You can do it. You can do it here.
Okay. Any other questions from the community?
Yeah, probably Linton, thanks for the introduction. I wanted to know, is it designed to work exclusively with React, or could I also use another framework like Vue.js? Or as far as I know, it's completely written in React, right? The application itself, Framework X?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is React.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that's why everything works as a React component.
Yes.
Oh,
So
yeah.
everything you see here is React.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? If your mic doesn't work, you can use the chat to write the question and I can read it to Linton. So yeah, feel free to write something or write me on Slack.
Okay.
Otherwise, yes, let's wait a little bit, and if there are no more questions, let's wrap this up. So we are around the 30-minute mark, so it was a perfect timing. Linton, thanks again for everything. And like I said, you will get access to future skill sessions, and I invited you to our global talent community, so you can join the skill session channel there and look out for something that interests you. And if you want, we can also share your website, the Learn React, in our community and through our social media. And yeah, thanks again for the presentation and for sharing your knowledge. I really appreciate it. And
yeah, you're welcome. Hope it's useful.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, if you have anything else and you guys have anything else, write me in the Slack channel, and I will prepare a version of this call and share it to the community soon. I think next week probably. All right, thanks everyone for joining and taking part in this, and let's talk soon. Take care. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linton. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.